Welcome aboard this week's podcast of Dudes Dish Disney. Get ready for amazing attractions across America. Beer halls and bar rooms, banquets and beverages, a collection of characters and colleagues.
No cupcakes.
It's Dudes Dishing Disney. This episode of Dudes Dish Disney is sponsored by Corner of Maine. If you're a dude or dudette looking to wear Disney style, Corner of Maine is the only answer. And now your hosts, the dudes of Dudes Dish Disney.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Dudes Dish Disney. Joining us today is our producer and resident tech dude, Jonathan.
What's going on, guys?
Also joining us is our co-host. Ryan is the number one Disney dude.
What's up, dudes?
And I'm Congo Carl, former Jungle Cruise skipper. What's up, dudes?
What up? What up? What up?
Yo, yo, yo.
Hey, you know what? Both Disneyland and Walt Disney World have excellent parties around the holidays. And we thought we'd kind of evaluate who does them better. Which one, if you had to choose, does which party better? And there's no cop-out. There's no saying, well, they're different. You know, we want to know, if you could only pick one, where would you go? Which event would you do in which park for that holiday season? And then, obviously, build a vacation around that to experience the best. It may be that you are going to the same park twice, or you may be going to East Coast, West Coast. We'll find out when the dudes evaluate who does it better. I'm going to start with Halloween because we're right in the middle of the spooky season right now. And Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party versus Oogie Boogie Bash. Now, they both are Halloween parties, but they differ in their locations. So that's kind of interesting, too, in that comparison, right? One is in the Magic Kingdom, and the other one is in California Adventure Park. So it's not really apples to oranges right off the bat. And I'm going to ask Ryan's opinion because I know he's recently gone.
I did?
Oogie Boogie.
Oh, yeah. It's been a while, but yeah. I was going to say, that wasn't this season, but, you know, I was like, damn, I went to Halloween Horror Nights. We can talk about that. That's not
That's a whole different experience.
That's a different episode.
Very different ball of wax, yeah. I think, you know, if we're talking specifically Oogie Boogie Bash, number one, it is not held in Disneyland Park. It is held over in Disney's California Adventure. And what's kind of cool is Oogie Boogie does take main stage, obviously, in that. But Oogie Boogie takes main stage kind of throughout the resort areas as well. So as you know, as we probably know, maybe you don't, I don't know. But Disney California Adventure is connected to the Grand Californian Resort. And there's a special entrance there. So what's kind of cool that you don't see in Disney World is that Oogie Boogie does kind of spill over into that resort as well for this party. So in the lobby, you've got Oogie Boogie in there. You've got, you know, some kind of creepy Oogie Boogie and Jack and Sally kind of Nightmare Before Christmas kind of decor in there, which is just an element I want to bring into this because it's different, right? It's just different. Oogie Boogie Bash is a very different feel than Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. There's more villains, there's more interaction with villains, and there's more focus on villains. And I think for me, that's going to be the major talking point as to why maybe Oogie Boogie has a step up, right? You know, it's not about trick or treats and parades and you know, the Sanderson sisters right on stage, right? It doesn't do all that, mostly because they don't have a big stage in front of their castle because their castle's too small and it's in the other park. But I think that's what I like about Oogie Boogie Bash is, I mean, listen, it's right in the name, right? You've got a villain in the name. It's Oogie Boogie Bash versus Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. So, you know, I don't know what direction you want me to take it in there, Carl.
No, I think you're going in the right direction. You're highlighting why, right? your
Yeah.
thesis is leaning that way. And I mean, that's a great argument. Villains equal Halloween,
Yeah.
right? Cute is Disney year round, but villains, it's all about Halloween. And you're right. At the Not So Scary party, the villains do appear for photo ops. They actually start appearing usually later in the evening. They're not out like right at rope drop. They there's other stuff going on, and they kind of show up later for the closing few hours, right? Whereas I think Oogie Boogie, you can catch them all the time, and it's not only the villains for photo ops, but the villains at Oogie Boogie are doing small vignettes and presentations and skits or whatever you want to call them. I mean, and they're really and they're fast enough so you can kind of watch it as you walk by and get a flavor for it, right? You don't have to kind of plant yourself and see a whole show like you do at the Magic Kingdom watching the Sanderson sisters, right?
Yeah.
So,
I like to kind of equate it to, the new trend, or at least new to me, the last, 5, 6, 7 years, the trunk or treat trend, right?
Mhm.
Where now instead of going house to house trick or treating, these kids are gathering at a school parking lot for a PTO thing, and everybody's got their trunk open, but the trunk is decorated, right? And that's kind of the feel that you get with Oogie Boogie Bash with these vignettes that you're talking about, is they create these little stage shows, but the stage is literally as big as the villain, right? Like there's not much going on there, but there's enough set design there to kind of add some flavor to it. So that's certainly part of it. But I think the other part of it isn't just that it's villains, right? Because when you're at Disney World, you're going to get your classic Captain Hook, and you're going to get your Jafar, and you'll get any of the evil queen, or you'll get whoever, right? The classic characters. Versus Disneyland, you're going to run into random bad guys like Sid, right? Like you're going to get a whole different flavor of the villain, right? And it's not just the common top 5, right? And they go out of their way every year to try to pull a different, unique villain into that show. You'll also start to see some of the villains, which I can't leave out, from like Marvel, right? Like Agatha, for instance, right? Was last year, right? And you've got some of those types of villains as well. I would love to see Thanos. That'd be pretty cool. But you can do that stuff in California. You can't do that stuff in Florida, at least at least not with Marvel characters, right? So there's a whole range of stuff you can do in California. And then the last thing, of course, is the interaction of the villains, because you're using like actual human villains like Sid, like Agatha, right? You can pull actors from Hollywood or aspiring actors from Hollywood to play these parts and actually interact with the guests in a different way, versus Disney World, where it's like, okay, it's Jafar. He's got the plastic head. He doesn't say anything. He just kind of looks creepy and walks around with his snake staff, So again, that to me is above and beyond why Disney California Adventure and Oogie Boogie Bash is the better bet here.
So, it's important, I think, to understand too. You're both, I think, from a ticket perspective, you're both getting the same value, right? You're both getting an earlier start when the park unofficially closes. You're getting some extra time. You're getting a value for that price. They both kind of sell out quickly, right? So it makes planning key.
Very fast.
Yeah,
that's a snap.
Biggest thing is Oogie Boogie is gone. I mean, you can usually get lucky and find tickets for the others pretty easily on most dates.
Right. And I think both of them are probably held frequently at the same time. Well, actually, I think there's less Mickey Scary, Not So Scaries than there is Oogie Boogie. Oogie Boogie's kind of like 3 times a week. And Mickey's Not So Scary gets to that pace towards the end, towards Halloween, but in the beginning, it's spread out.
Yeah, in the beginning, it's more once or twice a week. But you're right. As you get closer, there's 3 and sometimes even 4 times a week.
Yeah.
Where they will shut down Magic Kingdom. Yeah.
I think Oogie Boogie tends to be a little bit more expensive, like maybe $20, $30 more expensive a night than Magic, but I think you're getting a little bit more. And so I think generally you can say the hours, the value, the attractions, what you're getting is probably consistent, right? It's not like one you're in the park for 8 hours and the other one you're in there for 3 hours, right? It's fairly equitable as far as what they're doing. And the concept that it is hard ticket sell, it's limited to a few, right? Hence the sellouts. So you are going to have less crowds in the park and be able to enjoy shorter lines on the attractions. I think doing them both effectively, you have to blend that value of short lines with not missing out on the really cool stuff that's going on in the party, right? And that you need to kind of plan and decide that. Look, if you're going to the Magic Kingdom and all that has to offer, is it more valuable? You're in Florida from out of town to have no wait on Big Thunder Mountain and the Haunted Mansion and some other things than it is to go trick-or-treating and get a sack full of candy, which you're going to do probably when you're back home anyways, right? So I think you have to kind of decide what's my value proposition going in. And I think, so the first question, I think we've answered it's worth it, right? I think it's worth it. It's different. But which one of the two is better? You've experienced both, Ryan. John, have you experienced only one?
I've only experienced Disney World. And just kind of hearing experiences and kind of seeing things, it really depends on what you're looking for, honestly, to what you're going to get, I think, get the value out of it. If you're looking for that characters and all that stuff and you just want that, I think the value is definitely there going over to Disneyland because you're getting the unique characters, you're getting more of that. But if you're looking for the other stuff, the trick-or-treating, more of the rides, et cetera, stuff like that, then maybe heading to Florida and Disney World is what you're looking for. I mean, they both have a lot of pros, and they both honestly have immense value if that's what you're looking for. You're definitely getting the extra time in the park. It really comes down to what you're looking for.
I think a main point to talk about here in favor of Mickey's Not So Scary is that it is, I would say, more full family friendly, right? Because it's not as focused on the villains. That's not to say that Oogie Boogie Bash is like scary. It's not Fright Fest. It's not Halloween Horror Nights, right? Like, it's family friendly. But when I say that Mickey's Not So Scary is more family friendly, I mean, there's more of a focus on the shows, which we talked about. And the parades. The parade is, if you compare the two parades, because there is one at California Adventure, there's no question, right? There's no question the better parade is in the East Coast, right? It's the East Coast. The other thing I think the East Coast wins on is the Not So Scary Spooktacular, right? So the fireworks show that they do is exactly what you would expect from a Walt Disney World fireworks show. And I think that rings true to who Disney World is, right? Magic Kingdom, I think, trounces Disneyland Park when it comes to the standard fireworks show, too. So, to me, that they carry that over very well and they keep that consistent. So that is another major factor that I think we need to look at is like, hey, if you're traveling with a family with 5-year-olds and you want to do the rides, but you want to see the better parade and the better fireworks, you're probably better off going to the East Coast, right?
Well, and there's nothing that competes with the Headless Horseman as he rides over the Liberty Square Bridge. That's pretty amazing.
The chills. The chills you get from that. Oh man, that I haven't seen that in a few years, but man, those chills, you feel them still.
That's a classic, and but the other thing we should talk about, look at is as far as planning, these are big events to dress up in costume for.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of specific rules, especially for adults, on costumes. I'm not going to bore you with a list of them, but you can go online and read them. We can send you a document or a link with those instructions if you're going as a tip. But that's part of the planning too, is you'll want to think about within those guidelines and rules, are we going to go as a group? Are we going as individual? Are the kids dressing up and the parents aren't? Are you Disney bounding? What are you doing? That's a big part of it. And you won't regret the fact that you'll have some wonderful pictures of you and your family in costume at some key locations within the park that'll make it a special memory. But those two parks both have kind of consistent in their rules and everything. I think from what I've seen, people in California go all out with the costumes more than the East Coast, because probably they're local and they're not packing extra costumes in a suitcase, right, for the event on a vacation. So think about that. Now, I'm going to put my vote in. My vote is going to go for the best Halloween to Oogie Boogie, and for all the reasons mentioned. And the only thing that would, have my wish go the other way is that Headless Horseman. So that's my vote. Guys, do you have a vote?
I think we missed something that we still need to talk about before we put in the final vote. But I do agree with your vote, if that makes it feel better.
I'm trying to get to the Christmas party, so go ahead. What do we
give you one last second, and that's the intangibles. The intangibles are, to me, that Disneyland as a whole does a better job with Halloween, right? Disneyland at Disneyland Park, yes, you have the Haunted Mansion overlay, right? So if you're there for a vacation, especially, right, that's kind of an added bonus that you get. But also, while you're in Disney California Adventure, you have Cars Land dressed up for Halloween, and that's part of Oogie Boogie Bash too, because that area especially is super immersive to begin with, but especially during Halloween, and then you can meet again cool characters like Mater dressed up as a vampire, and then Lightning McQueen dressed up as a superhero, right? So that is an intangible that you get in that park as well. Not just the villains, but the expansive number of actual other characters as well. There is a good amount in Disneyland, Disney World, but again, it's more the characters that you're, the Winnie the Poohs, the Mickeys, the Minnies, those kind of characters, versus Disneyland has others.
So Ryan, your vote is
Oogie Boogie Bash.
Okay. John?
Yeah, I'm leaning that way, even though I've yet to truly experience Oogie Boogie. Just seeing everything that's available with it, just going through the POVs, all the content that's out there. I'm a big fan of Not So Scary with the parades, the fireworks, everything it offers. But just Oogie Boogie, hands down, is just, I think, a better experience. It's just done differently, and I think it just works better. Especially if you're looking for those unique experiences and everything else. So,
all right, listeners, we need to start planning your West Coast trip for next year right away. So reach out to us or your favorite MVP. Now, Ryan had the perfect bridge into the Christmas holiday season, and that was the Haunted Mansion overlay at Disneyland, which is phenomenal. The very first time I visited Disneyland was the time of year I didn't see the original Haunted Mansion. I saw the overlay. So that was pretty cool, having, kind of been born and raised at Disney World, that the first time I saw that was there. But that's just one example of what Disneyland does to the attractions around Christmas time.
And it's a great example. I mean, I went out there specifically for that attraction. Like, everything else was an added bonus, right? But another one they do, especially around the winter holidays, is they gussy up Small World. So you get, instead of the white lights that are out there, you get the multicolored lights. But then also, as you're going through the attraction inside, the animatronics are dressed up for the holidays as well. So, they do a little bit of that, which, that's a classic attraction, and that's a really nice overlay that they put on top of that as well.
And they changed the music, which is more important.
Correct. Well, I've come to really, truly enjoy that earworm that is Small World. And actually, it's not my most annoying. Maybe we can do that as most annoying earworms in Disney parks. But that doesn't even crack my top 5 anymore, to be honest with you. But I think that's that's a really cool attraction as well that they change. So I give a lot of credit to them for the overlays and the changes and the parades and the one thing about Disneyland is they constantly change it, right? So we've talked about that and the differences in the parks as it is, but they constantly change it. The streets are redecorated for every holiday. The castle is redecorated. Everything's done all the way down to the characters that walk around the parks, can be specialized just for the time of year that you're there.
But on the East Coast, they make it snow on Main Street.
They do. They also make it snow in Hollywood Studios as well, down Sunset Boulevard.
Right.
But I mean, it's really funny because actually, chances are it's more humid and hotter in Disney World than it is in Disneyland at this time of year. So, kind of ironic that's where the bubble snow comes from.
Right.
But it makes sense on Main Street in Disney World because the castle is themed to like a frozen ice castle, which has been mostly taken over by Elsa in recent years. So that at least makes sense to me.
Yeah. So again, Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party and Parade would be the theme parties we're talking about, rather than just who does the holidays better. That's the main event, the hard ticketed event that is for the holidays at the Magic Kingdom. A similar format, you get snacks, you get goodies, treats for the holidays. You get lots of special photography. I got a wonderful, wonderful parade, which is iconic. It brings back a lot of the classics, and that's very popular. But it's very different than Disneyland because it does none of the overlays. I want to say that Disneyland does the Space Mountain, but the Magic Kingdom will often do that Christmas Space Mountain too, no?
I don't believe so.
I don't think so. I don't remember that in previous years.
The only thing I remember Magic Kingdom doing with Space Mountain is they did try to do the Hyperspace Mountain for a very short time, whereas Disneyland, they kept it for like 5 years longer than anybody expected them to keep it.
Right. I'm doing a flashback trying to remember. So you've got 3 overlays at Disneyland in the Magic Kingdom, and Walt Disney World, of course, does the Jingle Cruise as their sole overlay. I think
there's a slight tweak. If you're only talking about Magic Kingdom, yes, but there is a slight tweak in another park with it's not really a full overlay, but Guardians of the Galaxy does have new music for the holidays as well.
Yeah, and there's lights in the land, listen to the land, there's lights, and there's
living with the land. I don't want to listen to the land. Put my ear to the ground was something my grandfather used to tell me. So I guess
original theme music. I was thinking about soundtracks. But yes, other places there. But again, you've got Disneyland doing those major overlays versus the Magic Kingdom only doing the Jungle Cruise. And the Jingle Cruise is very refreshing. I think it's more refreshing if you're a skipper than it is for a guest, because for a few weeks you get to do new humor versus the old traditional stuff. So it's a great break if you're a skipper. Looked forward to every year. It's over the top. They used to let Imagineers used to let the skippers help decorate. They don't do that anymore. Because they were done, and then the skippers were bringing in more stuff and adding to it, and you can't do that. So, it's.
I would like to say though, before we get too far away from Disney World and the overlays, I believe we're all aware here that they do Tomorrowland Speedway and they do Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor.
Lights. They do lights on Main Street. They do lights everywhere. Lights is not an overlay.
And that's what I wanted to say before anybody comes after us telling us like, oh, you guys missed all these. We're aware that they're there. They suck. They're not worth talking about.
They're not. I would not count those as overlays. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm right there. Ooh, let's put up some lights. Let's bring some holiday cheer. That's not an overlay, people.
Speedway has like
Ooh,
the
there's a
$8
tree. Look at the tree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We're on the same page. Thank you,
Okay, good.
Ryan.
You're welcome. Yeah.
So, Disneyland, I've got some great iconic pictures of the castle with snow on it. It does look really good with the snow on it, with the Matterhorn in the background. If you ever take any of those pictures, that's really nice. Last year they didn't freeze Cinderella's castle in the Magic Kingdom. But you're right. Previous years they did. I kind of missed that. I think it was something to do with since the 50th, they kind of didn't do that. Maybe the paint was still drying and they didn't want to put the net of lights over it. I don't know. I'm not a fan of the food at the Magic Kingdom's Not So Scary. Excuse me, Very Merry, Not So Scary Christmas Party.
It's very merry, not so scary.
It's the food is scary at the Very Merry. I'm not, a big fan of the gingerbread cookies. So
I'm not really a big fan of Magic Kingdom food anyway. So, give me the premium ice cream bar and we'll be fine, right? Like that's fine.
I'm going to start off. The fireworks are fabulous in both cases. I think there's a little edge to the holiday fireworks in the Magic Kingdom versus Disneyland. Again, as you pointed out, I think the parades are so similar that it's tough to put one over the other. I think they might have the exact same parade units at both parks. So I don't think that there's any comparison there. I am, my vote's going to go for California again in Disneyland because of the overlays to the attractions being really a incredible highlight. All three of them. What say you, John?
That's what I'm trying to still figure out here is which side I'm going here, and because I have yet to experience Disneyland, I'm solely going with Disney World here. I think they do a great job. While it doesn't have as many overlays and all that, it's the atmosphere that I think you get when you go to Disney World during the holidays that really steps up and kind of, at least for me, it kind of pushes me in that direction.
Okay. Tiebreaker comes in with Ryan, the number one Disney dude.
I mean, there's an actual party in Disney World, right? There's not really a party in Disneyland. So, they do a lot of stuff in Disneyland, don't get me wrong, but I do believe that the actual premise of this conversation was who did it better, Christmas and Halloween parties. So for me, the easy way out is to say that I'm going to go with the Magic Kingdom and the Very Merry Christmas Party here. And they include Santa. So how do you go wrong, right? Santa, come on, everybody loves Santa, right? Even if the gingerbread sucks.
So then I guess I'll be partying with my own bad self in Disneyland while you guys are kicking it up at the Magic Kingdom.
Enjoy the non-gingerbread, Carl. We know that you'll enjoy Dole Whips instead.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Some thoughts about the holiday parties at the East and West Coast. And drop us a line in our social media. Let us know your thoughts on your favorite holiday party through Halloween all the way to Christmas and New Year's. Let us know. Who's got the best party in your mind? And until we all get to party once again, later, dude.
Later, dudes.
Later, dudes.
Thanks for joining us for this week's episode of Dudes Dish Disney. Please check us out on social media. On Facebook at Dudes Dish Disney. On Instagram at Dudes Dish Disney. On X at Disney_Dish. Please check us out on YouTube. Like and subscribe at Dudes Dish Disney. This episode of Dudes Dish Disney is sponsored by Corner of Maine. If you're a dude or dudette looking to wear Disney style, Corner of Maine is the only answer. Check them out at cornerofmaine.com or on social #MainStreetDudes.